John Wick Chapter 4. In order for you to be well prepared for the release, we will briefly recap the story so far and speculate on what might happen in the new movie. Further, we will introduce you to the cast and tell you when shooting will begin. So dear fans of sophisticated action, have fun with our newest episode. Since 2014, the John Wick series has been captivating action fans around the globe and continues to outdo itself in its kill score. In the first film alone, a total of 77 adversaries had to pay with their lives, but how did the carnage actually start? After losing his beloved wife Helen to a terminal disease, she bequeaths a cute little beagle to her widower as a last gift, so to speak. Daisy, as John named the dog, unfortunately does not have a long life ahead of her after the professional killer is approached by a group of young Russians at a gas station and rejects their offer to buy his beautiful Mustang. They feel offended and want to pay him back by stealing the valuable possession. Unfortunately, the dog dies in the process, and after the criminals take not only his car, but also his beloved dog, John Wick vows revenge. It soon turns out that the thief is the son of his former client Viggo Tarasov, and that there was probably a misunderstanding because the young Russians were not aware of who they were upsetting. After John takes out nearly a dozen Russians, Viggo puts a $2 million bounty on John Wick's head. After booking himself into what should have been a safe hotel, the Continental, he shoots his way through a nightclub in search of Viggo's son, is subsequently attacked in his room. His next stop is a church in Little Russia that serves as a facade for shady dealings of the Russian mafia. After learning from Viggo where his son is staying, John sets out to finish him off. At the end of the 101-minute bloodbath, Viggo also ends up dead and the revenge spree is over. Finally, in an animal clinic, it sort of comes to a happy ending because there he saves a dog from being euthanized and goes for a walk with a young pit bull puppy. John Wick 2 takes place just a few days after the death of Viggo and his son Yosef Tarasov. Although John has a dog again, there's no trace of his previously badly damaged Ford Mustang. It soon becomes clear that the fancy vehicle is with Viggo's brother Abraham Tarasov. After killing some of Tarasov's men in typical John Wick fashion, he surprisingly makes peace with him. One might think that John Wick can now finally enjoy his retirement, but false. He is visited by mobster Santino D'Antonio and is asked to redeem his blood oath. John isn't fond of the idea, however, and so D'Antonio demolishes John's house with a grenade launcher. In the end, he does agree to redeem the blood oath and sets off for Rome to kill D'Antonio's sister Gianna. Upon successful completion of the mission, he is also attacked by Gianna's bodyguard Cashin and his men, which eventually leads to both of them falling through a glass window into the Rome Continental Hotel and thus no longer being able to fight each other. Once again, there's a bounty on John Wick's head, this time raised by Antonio to a whopping $7 million. With the help of the Bowery King, John is treated and given a weapon and the exact location of Santino D'Antonio. After a tense battle between John and Santino, which again ends in the Continental, John forbiddenly shoots the antagonist right on the spot. As a result, the Mafia increases the bounty to $40 million, causing John to lose his privileges and access to the underworld's resources. John Wick 3 also ties in directly with the second part and initially shows John on his escape through New York City. While he negotiates safe passage to Casablanca with the director of the Tchaikovsky Theater, the High Table educator investigates the circumstances of D'Antonio's death. In Morocco, he reunites with his old companion Sofia and begs her, at first in vain, for help. Once he insists that she redeems her blood oath, she takes him to Barada, who tells John to wander in the desert until he can no longer walk. Only then, he says, will the elder of the High Table talk to John. John eventually finds himself collapsing from exhaustion in the desert, and indeed, he is found there by the eldest man and brought to the elder. The elder demands Winston's death, thus John makes his way back to the New York Continental. After a consequential dialogue, the educator of the High Table declares the Continental a secularized place, which is why Winston and John are now outlawed within the building. After Winston betrays him, John is shot and falls from the roof of the hotel. John, who is severely injured, escapes back to the Bowery King, who is also not well disposed towards the High Table after being mutilated. And all this is just due to a Russian gangster who had the idea to murder John Wick's dog. So much for the synopsis of the story so far, but what is actually planned for part 4? Not much is really known about John Wick Chapter 4 so far. The only thing that is clear is that the sequel will probably follow on directly from the end of Part 3 and that it will be released next year. It is very likely that John will take care of Winston and the High Table in his own style together with the Bowery King in the new sequel of the franchise. It is not yet clear whether old companions like Sophia will work with him again, but there's hardly anything anyway that could stop John from his quest for revenge. First, let's talk about the previously mentioned Bowery King. After he was almost killed by assassin Assassin Zero in Part 3, Bowery King, who was severely injured by the attack, swears revenge and saves the equally wounded John Wick. The impression is given that in Part 4, the two of them will fight side by side against the High Table in an attempt to bring it down.